All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to another video. And today, I just got done practicing, so practicing my little Fortnite stuff. But I decided, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and try and model something for you all in UEFN. So I'm probably gonna make an entire series on like modeling tools, but I figured it'd be kind of cool. I kind of do this every once in a while. I just kind of make something inside of UEFN, and I'm kind of in a creative mood. So let's just go ahead and do a sword. So the very first thing that you need to do whenever you're modeling is find a reference image. Typically, you would want a reference image that has a front view and a side view. I don't know if I'll be that lucky or if I want to dive super deep and find something that has that. You know me, sometimes I'm just not feeling like getting it perfect. But if you really want to make something absolutely perfect, then you would generally want a front view and a side view. But today we're just going to go ahead and probably just go with something that I find that looks cool. What's something that looks cool? Done this one before in UEFN. Let's just go with this one. This one doesn't look too complicated. I could probably make it a couple small details. There's a couple small details that I do notice that we might not get to is like these little indents. The couple different ways you could do those little indents is make a normal map. So I could definitely bake these on a normal, but uh, I'd rather do that in like Blender than UEFN. We could definitely do this part, do all of this twirl handle. Might be a little tricky, but the blade definitely we could do. We could definitely get something that reminisces the texturing of this. So yeah, why don't we just go ahead and give it a try? So first thing I need to do is I need to save this image. I'm just going to call this reference image sword. And let's just see how we do. So next I need to go ahead and import that reference image into my project. I'm going to do that by simply just opening up the content drawer and dragging the reference in, just like that. And we have it. Then I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder and call it reference material, like that. We'll drag this in here like that, move here, go ahead and click here. And then we're going to go ahead and make a new material. So M underscore sword, reference. Well, always prefix your materials with M underscore, so that way you know it's a material versus like a material instance. And to make a reference image on a material is actually not too bad. All you're going to do is go ahead and open this up, drag the texture in, just like so, and you're going to add what's known as a texture coordinate. Excuse me, not texture sample, texture coordinate. You're going to add a scalar, and then you're going to add a multiply like this. Come here, like this. This is going to go into the UV. This is going to go into texture coordinate like that. And then right here, you're going to right click on this and you're going to call this tiling. Move that in just like so. And then we're going to go ahead and drag this in like that. And then of course, like 10-ish, 5-ish. Oh no, somewhere along the lines of there. And then of course I'll go ahead and save this. Next, I'll just go ahead and right click on this, call this MI underscore sword reference. And bam. By the way, if I'm going a little fast here, it's because I did a whole series on materials. I did one both in Unreal Engine 5 and in UEFN, so I'm not trying to spend too much time on how to set up your material reference. Uh, Go watch all my material videos on that if that was a little too fast, or just simply leave some questions in the comments for me, and I will do my best to answer them. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and drag this out over here. Go ahead and open this up and take the MI and drag it on there. All right, cool. So it does look like we're getting some good detail here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the material reference now and just manipulate the tiling so that way I get the tiling that I want here. So check mark this. Let's try like 2. 1.2. Well, just 1. There we go. All right, cool. And I think that's a very, very good reference point. Okay, all right. So now that I have this in my UEFN project, I can go ahead and start to model it. Um, see here. And again, this is generally why you would want a side view, although I wasn't able to get one. It's not going to be the end of the world. It's going to change up a little bit. I'm just go ahead and just looking at everything here, seeing how I want to do everything. All right. So generally, you're going to go here into the modeling mode here, and I'm just going to first start with the blade. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a rectangle here, which is 2D. And essentially, I'm going to bring this up here, and we're just going to make the blade first. And all I need to do is essentially find a place where like this kind of sits and essentially fits onto the blade. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it kind of like that. I'm going to turn off snapping for now. I don't need it. Let's see. And I'm essentially just going to try and line this up so that it's exactly in line with the blade, kind of like this. Move it down, just trying to align it again perfectly with the blade. By the way, if you scroll back on the mouse wheel, it does slow down your camera, and that's one of the good reasons why this is good. So why they have that feature is so when you're modeling, you can kind of get things perfect like this. All right, and I'm just going to go ahead and click accept. Now, whenever you're modeling in UEFN, generally you're going to use these polygroup edit, which is going to allow you to drag these vertices around and like allow them to align to your reference. So that's the first thing we're going to do here is just try and align these vertices here as close as I can to the reference image. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be absolutely 100% exactly right on the money perfection, but it's going to get pretty darn close. I'm going to come here, click on this, drag this over like that. Click on this, drag this over like that. Maybe, oops, excuse me, went down. Wanted it, or I get over. Move that, and then just try and make sure that it's completely level. You don't want like one side too much higher than the other. And then we can come here, and that looks like a pretty good lineup just for the start of the sword here. Cool, cool. And then essentially you're just going to keep doing the same process where you're going to make a cut, kind of like this, and then you're going to go ahead and drag down. So you're going to make that cut, click accept, boom, and then back into polygroup edit. And then now I can take the edge here and drag it down, boom, and over. And essentially I'm just going to continue to do this process if I can see that yellow arrow there. It's kind of hard to see the red arrow. It's like trapped in there. There it is. All right, there we go. And I'm just going to use this to kind of just outline the blade. Come on. Where's that red arrow? It made that kind of hard to see. I'm not going to lie. I wish it wasn't red. Um, okay, gonna go ahead and insert another edge loop right about here. Now, one of the nice things about this material here is that you can kind of see how things are lining up with the grid, and just making sure that things are aligned well, really, really, really does help. So that's one thing I do really appreciate about the grid system is just how like everything is kind of lined up with that material. So I do recommend if you can modeling with that material. I've always found it really, really helpful. But as you can see here, I'm just slowly working on creating the outline of the blade first. And as you can see, again, it's just the same process of just working on aligning things and just getting everything to try and line up as best as you can. Boom, come here, click on this, just dragging this through. See, I'm just working on, again, just aligning everything as best as I can. The one thing I will say about this is that I did create a poly or a try here. I will probably change this into a quad here in a second, but essentially you want to avoid triangles as much as possible whenever you're modeling. It's just good habit to get into because essentially they render the worst, right? So out of all the shapes that you can have in like any development engine, triangles will render like the worst out of all of them. Right, so as you can see, I just now made this now. If I just drag this vertically up a little bit, now I've made this into a polygon, right? So it's no longer or a quad, right? But it's no longer a triangle. But as much as possible, you want to avoid making triangles. It's just how it goes. Yeah, so now I have everything quadded. There we go. And then I can come back in. Well, and essentially this is the basics of anything. Like if you're ever modeling, this is essentially what it's going to be. I don't really care what software you're using. It's generally something along this process of just dragging these vertices and trying to align it with a reference image, right? And then there's some shortcuts essentially depending on the engine that you're working with that allows you to do it faster. But 90% of the time, this is really what you're going to be doing. It's just how it goes. Boom, right in there. Boom, look at this guy here and just drag and just try to align everything. I'm gonna go ahead and add one more edge loop like right here, just so I can come here and just make this like a little pointier. Just want this to be pointier so it really does look like a sword. There we go. Kind of wide at the base, but honestly, there you have it, right? So like a little bit of a lot of geometry kind of on the end of the blade there, but for the most part, this is pretty good. As you can see, if I just click accept and just move it, it's pretty darn similar to the original mesh. So that's really what we want. And then essentially I have a very nice, yeah, I'd say this is pretty darn good. I'm not going to fret over this too much. Cool. And that's essentially like the process just to model like anything really, guys. Like that's honestly what you're going to be doing is exactly what I did there. All right. So next I would probably focus on this little hand thing here. So these spirals are going to kind of be a little tricky. There's a couple ways I could go about it. I may save this for the end. Actually, I may do this at the end. I'm gonna go ahead and get this handle out the way, and I'm gonna do this as one part, and then this is one part. So this like wooden part is gonna be its own thing, and then this metal part is gonna be its own thing. So I'm gonna come here, again, rectangle. This one will take way less time because it's just not as complicated as geometry as the last one. So come here, kind of scroll this in a little bit, move this down. Boom, click accept. I'm gonna come here, model, polygroup edit, drag this vertically down and over. cool. There's that part. And then we just got to get this metal handle on the end. So I'm gonna come, and again, I'm really just doing the same kind of thing here, where I'm just coming here, taking just rectangles, right, and just slowly modeling them on here. Um, yeah, create, and honestly, this one will be a lot less polygons. The main reason for that is just because it's not as complex as the shape as the last one. So again, just trying to align this with my reference. And again, I think that little bit of detail there can it's kind of hard to tell. Well, this is extending actually out. That's actually coming out that far, like there. And then this is actually like here-ish. I'd like to see this reference exactly right. It looks like that's actually extending out to like here and then down a bit. And then I actually need one more edge loop actually, right about there. Except, and then boom. Kind of drag this up just there. And this should be like there. This should actually be over just a hair like there. Here, this should be there. And yeah, actually, I think that's the shape. So that's actually really nice. All right, and then the last step really is just going to be this handle. Here, this honestly will probably just be a cylinder and the end right here. So I'm not really too worried about like this thing right here because that can just be like a torus. Same thing with this. This is going to be a little trickier to make though. This little spiral. Honestly, what I'm probably going to do to make this spiral is we're going to just make a cylinder like this. Go ahead and scale it down the appropriate size. Like there-ish. There we go. Here we go. And then we're going to move it so it kind of aligns here like that. Rotate it over a little bit. Pretty good. You like that? There we go. Okay, now I'm gonna click on this and again, polygroup edit. Boom. I'm gonna go ahead and edge this around. I guess we'll want to do that. Let's see, how do we want to do this? I'd probably just extrude this face actually. Just do that instead. So I'll take this face, so extrude that face, kind of like out to here-ish, and then we'll just scale this out. Kind of like that. I like how that's looking. Now, all I'm gonna do to make the rings here is I'm just gonna simply put some toruses around it. I think this would just be the easiest way to do it, honestly. Like, there's a whole bunch of different ways I probably could have done it, but I think honestly this will probably yield like the lowest quality results, I would guess. And the beauty of this is I'm probably only gonna have to make this once. So that's one of the nice things about it. So let's see. It's kind of like there. And then let's see. Yeah, so it kind of starts there. And it looks like the rotation. Actually, the first torus looks like it needs to be like here and rotated like that much. So let's see if I can get this kind of aligned like that. Now let's bring back our other one here. Yeah, so that actually is slightly off. Um, Again, this doesn't have to be exactly perfect, so let's see if I can get it kind of mostly there. See, so it looks like the reference as much as I can. Here we go, that looks a lot better. There we go. There we go. It's looking a lot better. All right, cool. And then we'll just alt drag. So if you alt drag in UEFN, it does duplicate the instance here. And because this is the last kind of part I'm modeling here, I'm just going to click on the reference here and just drag it out just a bit. If I can try and get this exactly right. 1, 2, 2, 3. So they have 1, 2, 3, 4. So this will be 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 top. So probably be the last one going this way. And I think it's kind of nice that it does have a little bit difference from the reference and the fact that I think I have 8 instead of 7 here, but I kind of like the fact that it looks this way. Boom, just straighten this enough out. I'm gonna come here and actually make another one of these like this. Trying to drag that down like that. Yeah, I like the angle here. Boom. Strings to kind of be solid. Well, I'm not going to stress on this too much because I don't want to spend all day long kind of all lining these rings up, but I think you all see how I'm doing it. And honestly, if you wanted to make it more detailed, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and join all this together. Whoops, oops, did not mean to do that. Do I go in a wireframe? Yeah, I want to be in lit, and don't want to be in right, so I want to be in perspective. There we go. My bad. All right, come here. We're gonna go ahead and merge them all together. Boom. Oops. I keep clicking that. That's good. Boom. All right, cool. So there's that. All right, let's go ahead and now just start tying this all together. I don't know if I'll be able to make materials today. I was hoping to, but I don't think I'll be able to. I could have also used the pattern tool, by the way, to do what I did, but sometimes the pattern tool doesn't get it exactly right. So yeah. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and start to finish things up. So first thing you need to do when you're creating this from 2D to 3D is you're just going to click on the faces here and you're going to click extrude and you're going to bring them up just kind of like this. That's going to take it and make this into a 3D shape. I will eventually need to put little sphere dots here for that. But now I need to go ahead and make it rounded. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here, do an edge loop all the way through, just like this. And honestly, you could do beveling as well if you wanted to do bevel. I just like doing it this way because I just find that if I bevel, sometimes it gets a little bit messed up in the amount of times I bevel. So I sometimes just like doing an edge loop like this and then just kind of scaling out the edge loop to make it rounder. As you can see, it's rounding out. We've rounded out just a hair more. Actually, this is scaling different than how Blender does it. So let's do this a different way. One, two. I'm going to turn snapping on and we're just going to move it out 1, 2. That works. Cool, same thing here. I'm just going to hold shift and click. Boom, grab these two and move it out 2. So 1, 2, just like that. Nice. And then here, I'm going to come in here and grab this guy, drag him out. So the geometry is getting a little bit messy. Hold on. This side was fine. Ah, here's the culprit. He moved out, so then this guy needs to move out too. It's this inner guy right here that's just a little off. Drag this edge out just a bit. Try to realign that. There we go. Starting to come together here. Still just a touch blocky. We can just make this not as blocky. Well, it's actually really starting to align itself, isn't it? There we go. It's actually starting to come together. Boom, I'll take that guy. All right, next, polygroup edit. Same thing again. I'm gonna hold shift and select all these faces. Cool. All right, next I'm gonna come here and extrude this up. Just like that. Boom, and then same process here. I'm gonna loop cut around. Insert an edge loop right about there. Boom, accepts. Polygroup edit. Boom, hold shift, hold shift, hold shift. Back out. Up. Again, I want to make sure I'm doing this exactly the same amount I need to access here, so it's not snapping it. So 1, 2. Just come here, just grab this guy, drag it out. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. Drag them out, like that. Boom, boom, boom. Drag them out like that. Bam. There you go. There's that piece. Boom. That's 3D now. Cool. Blade, same process here. Just gonna come here, select all the faces. Oops. Keep doing that on accident. No, let me just hold shift and do it instead. Stirred, very thin. Nice, that came together pretty well. Boom, blade's now done. And then this very last part here is just this metal, and then this is honestly just two cylinders. Boom, so come here. So let's rotate them down and over like this. I probably won't do the materials. Honestly, I'll probably just grab some default materials that kind of match the reference because I just don't have enough time right now. I do have to head out and do some other stuff. But here is literally just, kind of, this is more about modeling and less about materials. So I don't know if I'll be able to make like a normal map to get exactly like all the details that is on this blade, but this is essentially the basic process on how to make the blade. It's more of what I'm trying to accomplish here. So with the cylinder, it looks like there's one metal one and then one like not as metal one. So like probably gonna be here and then scale this just a touch down like that. Move that there. Yeah, that's about right. I'm gonna scale it out just to here. There we go. Now I'm gonna come here, drag this guy, move him over and up, kind of like in there-ish. Yeah, there we go. Just to make this easier on me, I'm just gonna take this one here and just drag it down. I do need to rotate this in some way. So I have to rotate this around up. Rather that, we're just gonna come here. Oh, did I not rename this guy? So everything else, oops. Merge, sets one. Okay, so this just needs to be rotated like around that way. Like that. Down. And we're kind of in the last little stages now, just kind of touching things up and getting things to align correctly. Obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and close the reference because I don't really need it right now. This is kind of like the last little part here. And of course, I could probably like go in and make even more detail here on getting everything exactly correct, getting all the proportions exactly down. But I'm just trying to keep this short. I'm not trying to go too in depth on all the details. The top metal part, there's that. This is gonna align like that. Boom. It's gonna align like right here-ish. Up, there we go. Try to get this to align right about there. The only thing that's a little bit off is this handle part, just because these aren't perfect. So I feel like this needs to be exactly right. So the rotation is zero here. So this rotation should be zero. 0 should be 180. There we go. And this should be the same height as well, so this should be 240. And this should be 240. And what was that? 180. Yeah, this should be 180. And then height wise, this should be 514. This should be 514. Boom. And this should be in a little bit like that. Honestly, I think that's pretty much it. Um, Probably bring this guy down a bit to this guy's centers here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. The only thing is honestly this handle probably should be a little lower, kind of like on the center of the blade, like there. And then this should line up with that. So what's this at? This is at -40. Or this is at 498. So this should be my bad. 498. There we go. Back this down. And take it. I'll take it. I'll take it. And then I will probably come back and just do a touch of editing on this guy just to get it just a little bit rounder. Um, that's because it is a blade after all, so I do need this to be like very well done. That's I found like that. There we go. Allows for the putting together. Well, it's a lot more like a handle now. Gonna drag this guy out again. Let me just resize some just a hair here. I'm gonna probably come with the edge here. Probably group edit this. Click on these faces here. Just scale them down just a hair because they don't need to be so big. Now we're kind of into the final stages of this. Kind of like that. That's fine. Except, boom. Just kind of back on like that. This also doesn't have to be as big on the Z. I could fret over the geometry of that all day long. I'm not gonna fret over every little piece here. Honestly, like I would probably go back in, probably group edit and make sure that this really lined up all the way. Um, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Actually, no, I'm obsessed. Sorry guys, I'm a little obsessed. I'm a little obsessed with trying to get this perfect. Yeah, I don't want to spend so much time because I do have to head out here in a second. Just trying to give you guys the exact best product. I do consider myself very good at modeling, so I don't want to give you guys something that looks bad or isn't good. But essentially, this would be like kind of like the last step here. And this is fine tuning it, right? So like you got to keep in mind the reference that I had wasn't exact. Like I didn't have a side view. So there is going to be like a little bit of what I'm doing now, which is kind of just eyeballing it and just fixing up small details like this. Even though it doesn't perfectly map the reference, that's fine because honestly, the reference wasn't perfect to begin with. So trying to match something that wasn't right to begin with is not worth it. So this is why I'm just kind of touching up small details here and there, just making sure that the geometry all the way around kind of just makes sense. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does have to make sense. And honestly, that's fine, especially for a game asset. Nobody's going to be looking that close at something. If this was like a render for a movie, I'd probably go even more detail. But honestly, for a game asset, this is totally fine. And yeah, there you have it. So let's just go ahead now and take this and group it all together. And click group. Where's group? Select there we go. So I have my group actor. I'm going to call this sword. There we go. So there's our sword. All right, and then let's go back and see our reference. This is the reference. Not too shabby if I don't say myself. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this real quick. Shift U to ungroup. Okay, so let's see if I have some materials here. Let's just jump in and grab some materials. So we want metal, M underscore. So really to get all the inflections and stuff would be quite a challenge. I'm not going to work too hard to get all the inflections. I'm just going to pick a material that I think looks kind of nice. We'll just kind of call it at that. I don't want to get too deep into it. But again, I'd probably, if you wanted to, I'd have to custom design all these materials as well. That would be its own like video just in that, to be honest. So I'm just going to use the default ones here. And there you go. All right. So again, I didn't want to go too much into the materials, but like modeling all the materials, but nonetheless, I think this came out pretty well. Yeah. But there you go. So essentially, like, there's a lot of really, really cool things you can do with the modeling tools. Again, I do plan on making an entire series on this and how to do all of this. It is like a whole thing. But that's pretty much like the basic process. And honestly, it's really not going to change too much depending on your game engine. Like it's really not gonna like it's not gonna be like drastically different in like Unity to model or in Blender to model. As somebody who's also really good at Blender as well, and knows how to model in that as well, the process is more or less kind of the same, right? Like there's not gonna be a lot of differences in the process. And as you can see, this came out pretty good. I think there's some small things that I could have done better, but for the most part, like I would say the materials, maybe touching out the proportions. I could definitely use some mirror modifier to kind of get this to be just absolutely perfect or mirror. But honestly, it came out pretty good. Handle looks good. This looks sharp. I think the geometry here could have just been a touch better, but I didn't want to spend all day fixing that up. The lay came out very, very nice. Again, the only thing I would really say is like the material here and then this cut here. I would definitely use the normal map to make this, but I didn't have time. I didn't want to have to go in and like do some texturing and like cut that faces out or anything like that to really get that. So we're just gonna leave that small detail out. But yeah, There you go. If this video helped in any ways, please like and subscribe. I look forward to doing more modeling tutorials like this and trying to show you all the things you can do in UEFN. And I have a lot of fun doing this. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.